Om Namo Narayan, everybody.
Oh yeah, hope you're well, Guruji. I hope you're doing fine. We can start now finally with the questions if you would like. So first we had talked about we can start more with one of the topics I suggested was the spiritual side of your work. And okay, I'm gonna try to read the verbatim, the actual question. This was sent by Aditya, and it says, please discuss some of the interactions that you have had with highly advanced spiritual beings who are capable of doing things above the normal capabilities.
Well, I mean, we already spoke about some of them even on the shows before. I was lucky to go to India at a time when a lot of that sort of thing somehow was still, more readily accessible before the world changed and globalization came in. When I first went to India, it was like still, like in some places like it ever was in the old time. So in those days, we could come across many interesting spiritual personalities. Uh, we already talked about Pundi Swami, and so I was blessed to have been able to sit in his presence. Also, Mumrevaram Bali Yogi, which was actually the first one. That was a great introduction to the higher uh, worlds of Indian spirituality.
Yeah, I really like the comment that you said a few times that for you was a little like a video game that you kept collecting all this knowledge and information from all these. Yeah,
Right. Then later on, when I traveled around after when I traveled with that Agori, we went here and there. We saw Nanda Mai Ma. Uh, we went, to all over the place, and then ended up in Kashmir, where I met my first Guruji. Then, I was there with so many amazing Babas. I mean, that was one of the best times of the life because the life was so free, just like in Palgam under a tree with a dooni and taking bath in the river and everybody going to Amarnath Yatra and then in Chandanwari in different places on the way to Amarnath, like going up in the forest with a few sadhus and bringing back a big log of wood from the forest and putting it in the fire. And this life was so free and so simple and so pure. You could see the elements, you could see the wind blow, and it was so in union with nature, and that was a recurring theme. So being in union with nature, uh, that was really a special time of my life.
and I wonder, just because for me it's very interesting how you were able to jump from every kind of register and I don't know, like high advanced and spiritual people, because also you met a lot of the very interesting artists from many different times in your life. You met the people in the 60s, but then
Everything, I don't know, everything was just spontaneous and just one evolution of my particular path, my particular life, and it's all due to the blessings of Guru Maharaj. What can I say? And Baba and Ma, Lord Shiva and Ma, Ma Kali. And so something has been guiding me whole life and took me through many experiences. But yeah, when I was traveling around as a young sadhu, then after Kashmir and all that, between Kashmir and Kumbh Mela and going to all the Jyotirlings and going in Rajasthan, Gujarat, and MP, Ujjain, and everywhere. Yeah, I used to stay with different sadhu each place. They'd tell you about who was in the next place and whatever, and you'd go there, and I'd present my little letter. And somehow each sadhu had his own, kind of thing. And yes, you would take a little bit. I would gain a few days in one place seemed like an eternity. And then I would leave taking something of that Baba that I had stayed there with, and it was become a part of me also. So, and all these experiences all through life, they all become a part of us and it becomes who we are. But as far as uh, I was very blessed in that time to have sat in the presence of, many Ananda Mai Ma and Krishnamurti, Jiddu Krishnamurti, I heard speak. Also, I met personally Yuji Krishnamurti, and Muktananda in 71 before he went to the West or whatever, in Delhi, sat with him, and Guru Maharaji, the Bal Yogeshwar, the famous 14-year-old guru long time ago, who was very popular in the West. I was sat with him in personal quarter. Somehow I met him, and the list goes on. I can't even remember everybody right now. Not needless to say about great Naga Babas and yogis in the Himalayas and here and there. I mean, somehow wherever I go, I used to meet someone. Also,
He also said you met Osho randomly, no, while you were at Pune.
yeah. He used to come in the beginning in the early 70s. He used to come sometime to Dipti's juice bar, and he had an apartment in Bombay there. But I saw him speak in 78 when we went with the band to Pune to play, and then I still spoke about that in the last show. He called in, he was talking, we had his darshan.
Yeah, I imagine since we are counting and we can name a few of the people you met, of course, Albert Hoffman would be an interesting one in the list too. And yeah, of course, we have covered that, but also what a thing, no? That in your lifetime you have met all these people, no? Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, all India, all the Babas, and even get to the western part as well of what I consider very interesting and enlightened people too.
And also a number of Tibetan lamas also I knew. My friends who were really into it, I had introductions. Jay Sharma Rinpoche, and I saw the first Karmapa, the earlier Karmapa doing black hat ceremony once also, and so that kind of experience too. Anyway,
Okay.
uh,
Yeah, I
I was
understand.
lucky. I was blessed to be able to be in the presence of so many illumined personalities.
Yeah, wow. I understand that the list basically has no end almost. And okay, maybe we can move on to the next one, which actually I also very curious personally, because I'm not sure what is going to be your answer. So the question again, I'm trying to be as verbatim as I can. It's what guiding text and materials can you suggest for someone interested in this path? And this was submitted by someone actually that is right now in the chat. Siley Cyber. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing the nickname correctly, but yeah, basically that will be it. What texts and materials for someone
Well,
to?
the first text like that I ever got was already in 68, was a small copy of Bhagavad Gita Press one. Small little book, very nice, and that's what I read on my way going over to India, and inspired me to write the song to Krishna in my songs and all that, and later on I started to read it, and then I read many books. I read them all, and I preferred, and I started to like also a Penguin edition of Bhagavad Gita that was translated by one Juan Mascaro. That was very poetic and nicely written. And then I read all, Shiv Puran and Ramacharita Manasa and Avadut Gita and so many different books.
I'm
I have
sorry.
some books also that inspired me when I was in my yoga, learning yoga. I had two books who were written by, he was called Swami Vyasdev in those days, but then, after he was known as Yogeshwaranand Saraswati, he was the founder of Yog Niketan, and he was in Rishikesh. He was one of the teachers of Bal Yogi Premvani, and he had a couple of books that were very helpful to me in my early time, which was First Steps to Higher Yoga, which dealt with Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, and Pratyahara. And then the second book in that series was Science of Soul, which dealt with Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. And those books were very well written and very helpful to me when I was, 50 years ago when I was doing my yoga sadhana. These days, I read a little bit every day out of Shiv Purana, because Shiv Purana somehow has given me so much over the years. And also, I read every day out of Avadut Gita. Gita is the teachings of Dattatreya.
And sorry, just maybe to slow down for people that are not so familiar with all these texts, maybe you can share us just a little what is Bhagavad Gita for you, and I don't know what was your impression.
Everyone must know Bhagavad Gita because that's what the ISKCON, and they've been, promoting that book, their version of that book for so many years in airports and this and that in the beginning and wherever, everywhere, no?
Yes.
So people must be familiar somehow with that book, although I prefer other translations myself. And but the sentiment is still the same. The Bhagavad Gita was a small piece from the Mahabharata, which was a great story about ancient India, kind of like there's the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. It's like the Iliad and the Odyssey you could compare of Greece. You see what I mean? Or something. It's the two major books about historical, but Bhagavad Gita was in the Mahabharata in one little part when the two big armies were about to have a big war, and the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna told the Bhagavad Gita, gave the revelation to Arjuna in the middle of the army. So that's a little part of the Mahabharata, but in the Bhagavad Gita, it concisely puts together in a really coherent and understandable way all different things that were already mentioned in the Upanishads. So it was kind of a redefinition of Upanishadic knowledge in a very concise and clear way, and it's called Bhagavad Gita, which is the Song of God.
Thank you. I know that this is quite deep, and even going to the Upanishads, or we are already going even deeper. But thank you very much. At least you can give us an introduction.
Purana, there's a number of Puranas. I forget the exact number now. It's like 9 or something. Old Puranas, and one of them, there's Vishnu Purana, Shiva Purana, Linga Purana, many Purana. And Shiva Puranas, especially to Shiva and all, it's 4 big volumes. I mean, it's a big book in Sanskrit, in Hindi, and in English translation, it was like 4 big volumes. And it tells all the stories of Shiv and Parvati and Sati and everything, also with many other things in between, the whole knowledge of the world of the time, and also some much transcendental knowledge and many things. I've gotten a lot out of it over the years, so I like to read a little bit of it every day just to keep in that mood. And also Avadut Gita, which is the Song of the Avadut, written by Dattatreya, which is, more Advaita way of looking at things. And I like to read a little of that every day also, because I'm a follower of Dattatreya also. He's our Ishta Devata and our Mula Guru. And so, yeah, that's what I read on a daily basis now. But I've read so many books. I read them all. I used to read a lot Devi Mahatmyam also, the story of Durga Saptasati.
And okay, since we are talking about all these books, also, what about the Rig Vedas? Maybe you can also tell us a little if you also read them. Since we have mentioned all these books, I wonder your opinion, or if it was a book.
Well, I'm a follower of Vedic life, and I've read a little bit of it and different things that come from it. It's a big subject, all the Vedas and whatever, and it's sometimes a little hard to understand. But yes, I've read. I wish I would have studied more. I know a little bit of Sanskrit, but I wish that's one thing in my life that I wish I would have found the time to do, but it didn't happen, was to actually learn more Sanskrit because it's a beautiful language, and that's a good thing to know.
Yeah, it's the mother of so many concepts and such words for such subtle ideas.
Still,
Also,
I know the alphabet, and I used to chant Durga Saptasati, and I could, some things I learned by heart, and many mantras and this and that. In order to really go into the Vedas deeply, it's good to have a wider knowledge of Sanskrit also. I do what I can with the full heart.
all right, let me try to find the next question. This was a question submitted by Alex, and the question was not very clear, but maybe it could lead us to talk about the about women. If women can be sadhus, if women are part of Junakara as well, or how does it work? Maybe you can share us a
Yeah,
little.
there's a whole section what we call the my Vada. That's where all the women sadhus stay. There's a whole lineage of women sadhus. Uh, I don't know that much about it, but I know some of them. Then and there's even but there's been also foreign women sadhus, and some women sadhus. Most of them stay in Mayavada, but there have been some that stayed with their guruji in regular camp also. There's a whole tradition of that. I mean, they go in their own separate group at the end of all the Nagas, then they come before the Mandaleshwars, all the women Nagas. Of course, they don't go naked. They have a dhoti on and they're all in ashes. And yeah, they're very serious. I mean, there's been a number of foreign ones over the years that are very, very serious, and I highly admire. There was Nirmada Puri also in Hardwar, and there was Umagiri and Yamunagiri, and I met another one, Saraswati Giri also. And
Who did I meet in your flat when you were staying here in Berlin? I remember I met, I
yeah,
think.
that was Yamunagiri. Yeah, very Pakasadu.
I wanted to ask you because I remember she was also in one of these movies about foreign sadhus that you had recommended me to watch some time ago.
No, that's a different one. That was Umagiri in this Holy Men and Fools, it was called.
That's the name of the movie.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Holy Men and Fools. Yeah, I highly recommend everyone to watch that. It's very
And then
interesting.
also, but I even like my favorite one of all those movies is Naked in Ashes, about this Baba who lives on the banks of the Ganges in Hardwar and his 10-year-old disciple. Then
Okay.
they're with him a bit, and then they go up in high Himalaya on pilgrimage, and he's walking across the snow in bare feet singing Om Namah Shivaya. It's so beautiful. Then they come back to Hardwar, and it's Kumbh Mela and
Okay.
everything. Yeah, yeah.
Nice. Excellent. Thank you. Because also to get some movie recommendations from you, it's very interesting. Now, let's say that we had covered more or less the questions that pertain more to your spiritual side only as a sadhu. But for me, it was very interesting because there is a big crossover in questions that deal with your spiritual knowledge and at the same time with your physical endurance and your ability to do 24-hour sets. So I'm going to start with the first question, which actually I think it's a very articulated and very nice question, so I'm going to try to do justice to it. This was sent by Neil Shah, which is also one of the persons helping us here in the channel. So here it goes. Babaji seems to be able to stay connected to higher spiritual truth while maintaining a busy schedule, full of interactions and duties in the busy modern world. My question is if Baba has any advice on how he stays present in the spiritual side of mind always. Advice on how to go about our daily lives without becoming preoccupied with all the noise in our minds. How to not fall victim to thought traps created by our own minds, such as annoyances, frustrations, disappointments with ourselves and the world around us. What does he do to maintain a clear, pure mind and stay in the present?
Through discipline, self-surrender, and devotion, I found my peace. And let me just say, when I wake up in the morning and last thing before I go to sleep at night, first thing I do with all the lights are out, I sit up and I think of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva meaning also Brahman, same thing. And so then I get up, I make my bed, whatever, I go wash up, drink a couple glasses of water, make everything ready, light the puja place, and then I sit there for japa and meditation, right? For some time. Then I get up and I go make a green tea, and I stand at the computer drinking some green tea. Many times I stand instead of sitting, I change off because back problem.
That's good.
And then after green tea, I go for full shower and everything. Then I come here, put my malas and tea and chapundra, and I go out and offer water to the rising sun and wash the Ganesh out in the garden. Then I come back here, I wash the lingam, that, make everything ready, and then I do morning arti. Then after that, when that's all done, I have some free time during the day, and then I work on music or this or that or whatever thing I need to do. And then in the evening time, I wake up here like 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning also in order to do all that. Then evening time again, around 5, I start to slowly wash up again and then wash again the altar and there's another altar in another place also and then do evening arti and then after that have some prasad and go to sleep, you know, after a bit. Sit here and I meditate a bit before I go to sleep again. So anyway, yes, especially getting up in the morning, getting up and meditating, even if it's only for 5 minutes in the beginning. Just sitting there, lighting your little altar, whatever, and incense, and sit there and meditate for 5 minutes in the morning. It's going to set the tone of your whole day, and it's going to improve your life if you do it on a daily basis. That's what I would recommend.
Because it was a long question, and for example, he was asking advice on what happens in those days where your mind is more loud, you know, and it gets on the way of doing that. How you manage to, you know, keep the habit or.
For me, because I've been doing this, you know, this is like, you know, I've been on this treading the spiritual path for more than 50 years now, and I did a lot of stuff. And already a long time ago, my mind stopped bothering me too much. I don't really think that much. Sometime when there's some problem up, then the thoughts come or whatever, but I try not to get attached to it or something. The thoughts come anyway. It's better just to let them come and go. Worrying about stuff is a useless waste of energy because it usually turns out different than you were worrying about or expecting anyway. So it's better just to keep cool, calm, and collected. And then if you stay cool, calm, and collected, and you just see what's going on, you'll be able to deal with the situations better with a clear mind, not encumbered by emotions of anger or fear or all kind of different things that can come up. But it's hard. I know that it's hard to do that because some people also, you know, a pure diet helps a lot too. And eating sattvic foods helps the mind to calm down because eating, you know, rajasic foods make the mind think more. Tamasic makes it dull. So anyway, the combination of right lifestyle, right diet, right way of being and thinking, trying to be pure or whatever, or being pure through your lifestyle, that helps immensely. And realizing that if you open up to it, God, the Creator will guide you. He'll guide your hand. He'll guide your path. He's doing it already, whether you realize it or not.
I have to say, I think there were many people that really wanted to know a little of your daily routine, and definitely, I must say, must have taken enormous discipline not to carry it on for so many years.
Right. Well, it's gotten, yeah, what to say.
Oh, okay. There is a question that maybe it's a good follow-up for this one. This one was sent by Jay, and it's how do you get ready when you have to play the 24-hour rituals? And here maybe it's a repetition, but I'm gonna read the whole question. Is there any yoga meditation routine you go through before playing for so many hours? Do you consume any type of dietary supplement for energy, or you just have a good diet?
I have a good diet anyway all the time. And actually, now the couple of days, I try to eat light the couple of days before the party, and the day of the party, I don't eat. And during the party, I don't eat, only after the party. And I try to eat light even the day before, a couple of days before. Point is that I wash everything and make puja like, and then I bring it back. I wash everything, make puja the day before the party or whatever, and pack it all up and bring it, or sometime the day of the party, depending on the time frame, because it takes a couple of hours to do all that. And then I bring, there and might make puja when I'm playing. That's the source of my inspiration and energy and keeps me going. And uh, I want it to, I want to be pure all the time. So with us, like, if I go toilet, I have to like have a shower and brush my teeth and everything normally. So I usually like don't eat for a couple of days much, very light, and then the day of the thing I don't eat at all, and because I don't want to go toilet like sunrise the next day. You
Makes
know,
sense.
I just pee during the party. I drink a lot of coconut water and whatever, apple juice and what regular water, and I just pee. That's okay. Then I wash my hands, I rinse my mouth out 3 times, I sprinkle myself, and then I can go touch things at the altar again. So it's all about this also.
I mean, I think it's very
And one thing
interesting.
I just want to say, this altar you see right here, that's the one that goes with me everywhere. It's been on so many party all over the world. There's Baba, Ma, Guru Dattatreya, all Ganesh, everybody's there, whole family. And so, everywhere I go, that goes with me. And so everywhere when I arrive in Berlin for the summer tour, we have a house. You've seen it. I set up the altar. Wherever I going somewhere, I wash it and then take it there and set it up in the party. When I come back, I have to wash it all again. It's a full-time job. But this keeps me really like home is where the puja is, home is where the altar is. So that keeps me very uh, balanced and a good foundation wherever I go, because that's there with me and that's what I'm concentrating on, and that's somehow the service, selfless service to Lord Shiva. That's the my world, and then everything else comes from that.
I have to say, one of my favorite things to see you arranging the altar when you get to the party, and yeah, definitely it is a little bit of like, yeah, that holy territory that you bring everywhere. No?
Right. So wherever I go, that goes with me, and I try to make that, as you say, holy territory, and that gives me inspiration and power and peace of mind and everything.
I'm curious, the fasting thing. I mean, of course, it's a practical thing because, well, you have to play very long and you don't want to. But I think it's very interesting, no, that you take the knowledge of fasting, similar to what sadhus do, no, that they try to reduce their physical body so they can be more in meditation. It's very interesting to use that for DJing.
I mean, also, I mean, even as one guy, I mean, I already did it at the time, but one guy who was like years ago in Berlin, Tempodrome, I used to play there after Love Parade every year, too, long party. And that guy, and they had parties the night before and this, that, and some guy, time that guy, he was a funny guy, he was a black guy, he was sometime working for 2 days. He was somehow he was American, but I think or something. But anyway, we were laughing. He was telling me once. He says, "Yeah, I can stay up so long." He says, "The secret is not eating anything. If you eat something, then you feel to sleep." And he was right.
Interesting knowledge to get, no, because it does work. And okay, here there is another question which also can lead, all this conversation can lead to it, which is something that many people wonder if your body doesn't hurt, if your back doesn't hurt while you're playing for so long.
Well, it depends what condition I'm in, but I've had, I have sometime on and off very serious problems because I have, and sometimes it's better. Like right now, it's been better because I have serious, like some kind of disc problems that when it bothers me, it bothers big time. And also my knees, both knees, I have torn meniscus front and back in both knees also.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and all kind of thing. But what to do? And sometimes I'm in like so much pain, I had to be on painkiller, like when I went to India last year, and suddenly, luckily, I found a Japanese woman who did shatsu on me, while I was in Goa for a couple of months and helped me to get it back in order. But when I came back here and there's been lockdown, I had more time to get back to my old things until these shows started. And then I was doing every day yoga and pranayama. And when I started to do every day like my yoga and pranayama, asanas and pranayama, my pains went away in my back and knee amazingly. And like as long as I keep doing it, and then if I didn't do it a bit, then it starts to come back a bit. But and I really believe that thing which I read already when I was young and I was really into doing all my, yoga sadhana and in jungle and Rishikesh and all that. And I was so dedicated. And I remember in some old books about yoga, they said in scriptures, they said, even if an old man does yoga, he can become young again. And I really believe that.
That's cool.
I really believe that.
I love that
It
actually.
really does work. It does wonders, and I would recommend it for anybody. And it's helped me so much in my life.
Okay, here is another question which maybe also is connected a little bit with what you just mentioned, and something also many people were asking in different ways, but I chose Maritza's question, which more or less encompass all the ideas. And this was, what kind of rituals, prayers, offerings are you doing during your sets? And she's asking here also if you have a guru you're praying to.
Well, Guru Dattatreya, he is the representative of all the gurus. He's pictured with one face of Brahma, one face of Vishnu, and one face of Shiva because he's the all knowing. He has 4 dogs that follow him, that their representation, they say that the Vedas follow him like 4 faithful dogs. And he has the cow with him, Kamadenu, the cow who fulfills every wish. And he's the first guru. And all of the yogic traditions stem from him, from Lord Shiva through him. So That's the guru. And then I have different pictures that I change from time to time of my other gurus. Also, I rotate them, when I change, wash everything, get ready for a party. Sometime I change the pictures because I've had a number of gurus now over the last 50 years. But Guru Dattatreya represents them all. And then, of course, Shivaling is so important. So Shivaling and Ma and all, Ganesh and Krishna and Hanuman and all the family, they're all there. I seek all of their blessings on a daily basis.
I wanted to ask you, I have seen you sometimes during the morning, and I think you might be doing this often during the party. Sometimes I see that you have like a little bottle, which I'm sure must be Ganga Jal, no? Ganga water that sometimes you spray, no?
Sprinkle with my hand. Yeah, and say mantra. Gangiha, Namadiha, Jata Sankariha. Yeah, it's good to sprinkle the lingam and all the deities every so often.
Oh,
That's I always do that. That's what we do. Ganga
exactly.
water is very purifying, and then it's sitting there they're there a whole night and whatever. And when morning comes, I can't wash the whole thing in the middle of the party and make puja, so I sprinkle Ganga water and say some mantras.
For me, it's very interesting. When I met you, I really like your movements and your gestures. That you can tell that you have experience in the side that is also like the performance of the transmission of energy that sadhus have. And it took me very long time to realize. No, only when I was finally in Kumela on Junakara, I realized those movements. Where they come from, and to see that in the context of a DJ playing with this very particular music has a very powerful effect. Something that you can see the knowledge in the movements, in the gestures. I believe a lot in that, in the same way as mudras, for example, represent certain things. To see you blessing your altar while you play, I think it elevates everyone's soul in that moment, especially, well, the people that are paying attention maybe become more aware.
I hope so. I hope it elevates mine. I mean, for me, the whole music thing, whether it was like playing those songs that you heard on guitar that used to come to me, and then with bands and whatever, and then with DJing also, it's been a way to communicate to my public, the higher things, on a higher level communication.
And I'm very curious, when did you saw them?
You use it to create a certain environment and a certain atmosphere, a certain kind of like cosmic mind comes over the whole thing when you do it in the right way.
And
So that's what I always said about the whole thing.
yes, I'm very curious, particularly because you have always shared with us, and now we even heard the songs. That was maybe your first like enlightenment about the power of music and your role with music. I wonder, did you have anything similar with being a DJ, or there was a particular moment where you saw that you could connect, some things you learned from your sadhu life with also your 24-hour ritual? Was there a particular moment, or it was something you slowly built up?
It's just always been growing and then evolving and mutating in different ways, like through my whole life. The more you experience those higher realms or whatever, or become more in that kind of cosmic mind or whatever, then the more you can bring through what you do to the people through the music that you're using as a medium. You're using the music as a medium to give a certain feeling or a certain bow.
So,
And
so for you, doesn't matter like what music you were playing. You have always been kind of on the same mission.
oh yeah, I would say that. definitely. I mean, this body, it's this, this body, this mind, whatever, that's what it's been communicating.
Okay, before there are some questions about particularly psychedelic trance, but before we move on to that, I wanted to also that maybe you can, because sometimes there is a little confusion or people maybe don't know so much, but maybe you can tell us a little about Ariane, which is always the person opening your sets, and also you do music together as Nomos and Nimba, maybe.
That that could be a whole show in itself. I mean, how to tell about, you know, now it must be like 34 years of, selfless service and devotion and like, boy, how do you go into it? I mean, Ariane is my one person support team and always has been. I couldn't have done what I do without her, support because she takes care of keeping me on a good diet and making me, stay in good shape and do the right things, helps immensely. So it would be impossible to do everything alone. Anyway, Ariane, I mean, I'll give a little background. Ariane was from Paris. She comes from on both sides, mother's and father's side, families of artists. Her father was a musician. Her father's father was a well-known painter in France who was a friend of Jean Cocteau and Dali and Picasso and
Yeah.
everybody. Her mother was an actress. They even came to San Francisco in 1968 when she was like 2 years old and stayed in Berkeley with Country Joe of Country Joe and the Fish and saw a little bit of what was going on in Haight Ashbury
Oh,
time.
wow.
Then, when she was 5 years old, her father left to India. He went to India and studied sarod and Indian music, which he still plays today. And I knew his father since early 70s. He was in Goa every season. He used to have a house in front of Joe Banana and sit there like 8 hours a day playing his sarod. That's just, he was so much into that. And Ariane grew up in France with her mother. She got dreaming of her father in India, who she saw only sometimes. She managed to come with her family, brought her to Goa in 79 when she was 14 years old, first time. And she got to see the last parties with the bands that we were talking about in the last shows.
Oh,
Big
wow.
Dip Band and Anjuna Jam Band and all that. She got to see. And then, when she turned 18 years old, she came to join her father in India. And when she went back, when she was about 15, after going to Goa the first time, her mother took her to some African dance classes in Paris with some people from Guinea.
Yeah.
And she got completely immersed in that. That was her, like she learned to play djembe so killer and she was learned all the dances and this and that's what she lived for. When she was 18 years old in 1984, something came to Goa and to see her father and stay in Goa at his invitation. She had her djembe and was already a killer djembe player and was giving African dance class and knew all about the dances and which tribe it's from and what that dance is used for and had all the knowledge of that African because she'd been so into it already.
Wow.
So uh, I met her because I knew her father since early 70s and I used to see her because in that time I was still playing guitar also. We didn't have any band then, but I used to go for some jam sessions. There was jam sessions here and there under trees or here and there, and I'd play also, and she would be there playing her drum. And when I heard her play drum, it was amazing because nobody even knew what a djembe was in that time. Everybody
Yeah.
only knew conga. Like she was the first, and then she played soul. She'd go in trance when she played. So
Yeah, I
then
was quite amazed to know that she was playing djembe since she's like 13. Yeah, it's like a pioneer.
where she started with those Moroccan drums, play ones, and then she came back
Darbukas.
again the next year also, and we played on some more jam sessions together. And she was doing her African thing. And then at the end of that season, it was beginning of '86. She came with me, and we went to visit Kumbh Mela in Hardwar.
Oh, wow,
So
I
she
see.
got to meet my Guruji and Virgiri Ji and many Babas. We were staying out there in Kadkadi in Hardwar. And then from there, visa was finishing. We went to Nepal. And it just happened that some friends of mine who lived in Nepal the month before, they'd been on the first tour to Mount Kailash. And they told me if you just get a Chinese visa, now you don't need special permission and you can go just on a Chinese visa. So we got a Chinese visa and we went to Tibet and like hitchhiked on trucks to Mount Kailash. And we made it there. We were actually one of the first to do that, and we're even mentioned in this. Our trip is mentioned in this book, "The Holy Mountain" by John Snelling. I had a copy here somewhere
Oh,
with a photo of me and my Guruji and stuff is in that book from the
wow.
'86 Kumbh. But he found the story interesting, so he added it as the in the book there.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah, we went to Mount Kailash and visited other places in Tibet, Lhasa and everything. Came back to Nepal and went back to, and traveled around anyway, went back to Goa. She came into the picture at the same time as the electronic my big change completely from the other music to electronic music happened just before that. So she was in from the ground floor of that also. And she went to many kumbhs also. Finally, in '98 kumbh, um, I gave her a guru diksha together with my guruji. He died a couple of years later. Actually, we did an attempt at Karkari, gave her the Ambagiri name. So Ariane, Ambagiri, Nimba, and half of the nomos also with me, and what to say. There's all kind of stories about
I
it,
would
and
say that for me, for example, something very interesting that she brought into these events and where you play too is all this tribal feeling, no, that she
yeah,
brings.
brought the whole tribal, my understanding of tribal cultures and the whole tribal thing, and she made that all very clear to me, and influenced my philosophy also, and even the slogans like redefining the ancient tribal ritual for the 21st century. I mean, she influenced that also. She's been there through so many different experiences and many things, and we learned to play djembe. We used to then she taught me to play djembe also, and we used to play djembe there in Anjuna every day at sunset, and many other djembe players like Highlight Tribe and this and that came to join us also, and then what was it?
No,
So
I
yeah,
mean,
we have this musical history. She started to DJ before me also. When we were back in late '80s, I did some remixes for in San Francisco. I did some remixes for Code 4. Then one of the guys died, and another guy asked us to join, so we were together with him, uh, Ariane and myself and Peter Ziegelmeyer as Code 4. But then after a while, he started to make music with another guy, and we wanted to do our own thing with the Nomos, which would showcase Ariane's knowledge and talent in African music. So the first few tracks we made with Peter in the studio, Code 4 studio, because we still had equipment there, so we were sharing it, and he worked as our engineer. After that, we were traveling so much on tour all the time. We learned how to make in laptop, and 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 then she's really a great musician, and after and year by year, as my schedule got more and more busy, and and she didn't go out necessarily all the time to everything. She would like prepare the tracks, and I would come back, and we'd do work on them together. And but she's been doing most of the hard work in the nomos also, as well as Nimba. She's very talented. I can't give her enough credit. What can I say?
okay, one interesting question that I don't want to forget before we move on to the next topic. There was someone asking if you have still the tapes of before trance, you know. So basically, this was another question.
Oh, sorry.
Let me try to read the question so I can be fair to it. It says something like this. Do you have any of these first electronic sound tapes you still refer to? The ones that were spliced and looped? And yeah, he says he would love to hear that.
They were not, they were, yeah, those were, they're there. I mean, I have some suitcase, I mean, few big briefcases full of cassettes from that time, you know, from the whole history of the. I got rid of the records some years ago because they were all here in a closet and it was taking up too much place. So I got rid of most of the records between Dave and KJ. But uh, the tapes I still have all. You know, I used to make special covers for them. You know, the thing is that it would be just like, you know, the takes are all just mixtapes with different tracks on them that we collected in that time. And in between those, there's somewhere like you would get a song and wow, you would really like some of the music, but maybe it had some cheesy singing or something you didn't like. So we used to cut out those things and rearrange them and sometimes repeat some part twice in order to make it long enough and make our own kind of mix of some of those tracks. And those are there, but they're in between many other tracks and mixtapes and suitcases full of tapes that I haven't looked at in so many years. Although recently somebody came, KJ, who also got a lot of my records and is an old Indian, I mean, an old friend who was a DJ, and he's from Karachi, Pakistan, but he's in Keshav. He lives in San Francisco, and he was in the San Francisco DJ, and he was in, you know, a long time. Anyway, recently he came and took, he got half of my record collection, and Dave Dog of Tears got the other half, which was the earlier, like industrial stuff or electronic body music stuff he was interested in.
Yes, that's what I saw on Dave's house.
But anyway, KJ recently came and took the bulk of those and digitized all of them. He's still got the tapes. I'm waiting. He's finished the whole thing and even scanned all the covers, and he did it for some guy in Germany who really wanted to have it and set the whole thing up, who was archiving some history of Goa stuff. And some of those songs are in between in there, but I haven't looked in so long, and you'd have to look and see which ones they were exactly. But it was something that we did quite often in the beginning days, you know.
Oh, will be quite fascinating to hear even one of those tapes. I'm sure, yeah, maybe when we get around to do the show for the 80s, maybe we try to dig one up and then see how it sounds. I'm so curious.
It basically just sounds like a remix of some track.
For me, it's still very interesting to see exactly what you were doing. You know, what was the track selection? I think.
Well, we had two tape decks. I had two tape decks, like Walkman Professional, something, you know. And it would start and stop exactly because it wasn't that electronic thing yet. They start and stop exactly. So I would record the part I liked and stop it, then get another part ready and hit record again, you know, and like this, and make a version. Sometime you'd have to go back if you didn't get it, if it was a bit too rough to cut. And it was done like that. And we'd make our own versions. It wasn't something only I did. Rudy and Laurent and everybody used to do that.
See, so that was also part of your Goa training, let's say, in a way.
Yeah.
Okay, so now an interesting question, and this slowly is like our last topic, and maybe we can see if there is any other question that we might find. But I wanted to ask you because I think this is an interesting question. We are in the topic of psychedelic trance and parties in general, and the question would be, wouldn't you agree that it's more conducive to the entirety of the psychedelic music environment that there be more more small scale festivals rather than a few large ones. So I was thinking,
To me, I think that's fairly obvious. I mean, it's much easier to have a personal communication with 1,000 people or under than 10,000 people. I mean, you can manage even up to, you can have a pretty good communication even up to like 2,000, 2,500, but then after it becomes like, I mean, I suppose the energy goes like electricity through the crowd, like in a chain reaction or whatever. But of course, it's more intimate the smaller the crowd is.
this
But
for
it's at least good to have enough people that it, makes it full power also. So
and,
there's a happy medium there somewhere.
and I wonder, this also leads me to ask you because before your parties were always done in this context of a party where you only play, where there's no other DJs, and it was only just your party. But in the last years, you also explored this possibility of doing your own nights in some of the bigger festivals, which I thought it was very interesting. But I wonder if you see a difference, if you feel different, in your own parties or when you
Do it in that many. Where did I do it? Oh yeah, I did it a couple time in Azora.
Shankra, I think.
Yeah, I did Shankara last year, which was a great experience. That one I really like. It's the best festival I played at. Somehow the vibe was so mellow there in Switzerland and in that valley and the mountains all around and the
Yeah.
people, the festival, the family who does it, they're so nice. I really like that. And then we did Eclipse Festival also. Yeah, so that one year of Eclipse Festival, I did Azora, then Eclipse, and maybe one other one somewhere. I can't remember. It seemed like a good idea to reach more people.
I think
And
so too.
yeah,
And
it seemed like a good idea to reach more people, and people got something out of it. I mean, still, I prefer my, you know, I prefer in one way, my uh, forest party with 1,000, 1,500 people or whatever. I mean, because it's more intimate in a way, and and but Shankara still had a bit of that for me. Shankara was a big festival, I guess, but it didn't feel like a big festival to me in
and
my
also, if you ask me, I think it's pretty amazing that you have managed to even hack these festivals and get a whole day for yourself where you still play whatever music you want. It's not like you're changing it.
Well, me, I don't do anything. Somehow the things just come to me. I mean, I think Dana maybe had a lot to do with all that.
Still, for example, the music you play in Shankra or in Osora for 24 hours, normally it's reserved for a set of maybe 2 hours, when maybe Sectio Aurea is playing or something like that.
Well, it's something different for the people.
It's amazing that such big festivals allow you to do your ritual there too.
I guess they saw the benefit of it.
Okay, something that I saw that many people were asking, and we have already talked about it, but as it's a very common question, maybe we can go quickly through it, which is how do you prepare the music for the ritual? How do you divide it? Maybe you can tell us a little bit, about the color coding if you would like.
Well, I just go through music and I pick out what I think will fit into my set, and then my set is broken up into early night, middle night, late night, dawn, early morning, late morning, midday, then early afternoon, late afternoon, sunset, and after sunset kind of things. So some songs fit in multiple areas, and some songs are just fit in a whether morning or midday or afternoon, or some just for night or whatever. Anyway, when I go through all the music and I go through a lot, uh, I see if something appeals to me and where I can fit it in. And even something and many things that appeal to me and I think I can fit it in somewhere. I never get to them because there's only enough time. There's only a certain amount of time, and you can't get to everything that I like somehow. And I
So,
don't know.
so wait,
It's also
just
it's
to,
also kind of spontaneous as well, also, and
I'm very curious
and
to ask.
personal taste. I don't know. I'm just trying to use the tracks to get the thing where I want it to go. And also, and during the night, getting that whole ascending thing, like going through the whole night and faster till and getting to the end of the night, like the apocalypse or whatever, and then going into the morning. Once I get into the morning and then the morning's going, I feel a bit more relieved because I've made it through the night. In the night, I'm really concentrating, like trying to get there where I'm trying to go. And, it takes a lot of concentration to do all the thing. And I do what I can. And also, many times, even now, I'm recording. People are sending me last minute stuff, and I'm recording and recording, and I didn't even reach everything because people sent me so much stuff since the last digital darshan. But these shows took up so much of my time, like finding all the content and then scanning and this and that and going through videos and going through boxes to find things, and took up so much time. It took away from my music. And so what's happened in a lot of these things the last times, and even now, many times I used to drive to where I'm going to a party a few hours or whatever and listen music on the way also. And it's and sounds good in the car. It's a good way to brush up too. And now with these, the last parties and even this one, I've been recording, and I hear the things once and listen to my notes, and then I didn't get time to go back to a lot of them. So I'm just like experimenting a lot sometimes, also when I'm playing. Seeing what can go, like trying to find the right thing that fits in here, and then and then some. I'm hearing it on a party, many of the tracks first time myself, also on a big system.
Okay, I have
Not
an
all the
interest.
tracks, but it's all spontaneous. What to say?
I have a question. For example, now it's interesting that you were describing that you are a little aware of the pressure and the intensity that you go building towards the night until it finally breaks open in the morning. I wonder if you could describe, for example, what elements make a track more suitable for the night, for example, or for the morning.
Isn't that self-evident?
I think for you it is, but when you describe it, it's not so obvious anymore.
Night tracks are more, dark and crunchy. I don't know,
Okay, crunchy, that's
and
interesting.
also, uh, it can be almost industrial or whatever. It goes back to my industrial electronic body music nights. I always had the same concept of go through the night. You have to go through the dark before you come to the light, kind of thing. So, and the messages and this and that and whatever. Yeah, it's always been that same concept. So it's just that this is today's music of that concept, and that was that day's music. But in the nighttime in those days, there used to be like Skinny Puppy and Front 242 and this and that, and some really,
Okay.
also. So anyway, yeah, my night is always like that, going through the dark to come to the light. So whatever fits and can get me there in my current collection, then I try to use that.
See, it's not that obvious. It's a very interesting insight you are giving us of what is darkness for you, or what you're trying to do in the night. I think also even mentioning the industrial music is really interesting. And what about the day?
Yeah, well, coming to the day, then obviously it becomes more with melodies and a lighter kind of feel. And it's still, I'm coming out of really fast, dark stuff. So there's a transition point of coming back in. Once I reach the morning, going in the night is going up, up, up in BPM because I want to get to some of that fast psychore stuff too, because I find some of that really good these days. Then morning comes and I start going down in the BPM, but I still have to continue it, from that stuff and go down into a more morning sound. And over the course of around, the first 3 hours, I go from 200 down to 160, hopefully. And then the next 3 hours from 160 down to 148. Then I have 2 hours, like 1 hour before solar noon and 1 hour after solar noon, where I play all the 148 middle of the day stuff. And then in the afternoon, I start to go back up again slowly in BPM and out through afternoon stuff and towards sunset.
I have to say that I absolutely love the afternoons, no? When you start to play a lot of more humorous music, like some of the American guys.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, midday also is that. Midday is a lot of San Francisco music, and then into the afternoon also. Yeah, I like it also. I feel much more relaxed then by that time also. As the party goes on, I feel more and more relaxed, somehow. In the nighttime, it's a bit of a challenge. I don't know how much of that dancing with people on Zoom I'm going to be doing because I'm so concentrated to try to get the thing where I'm trying to make it go.
Yeah, like open up the portal, no? You're like a miner.
That stairway to heaven.
That's true, and I really, I have felt it. I have survived a few of your nights and reborn in the morning, and definitely it's a very serious job what you're doing. I have felt it many times. Yeah, thank you for sharing a little of the inner workings of what's going on for you as well while you're doing it.
Yeah, it takes a lot of concentration and a lot of focus, but that's where all my years of yoga sadhana and tapasya and all that, without that, I don't know if I could make it happen in the same way. That gave me a concentrated mind through, concentration and meditation and higher states of trance.
To be honest, I think what you do when you play 24 hours without stopping and not really eating, wouldn't it be somehow like considered like tapasya? Would that be the correct word?
For me, I consider it like that.
Me too.
It's one of my ways of worshiping the universe.
My first time to witness someone doing tapasya was seeing you playing 24 hours. So definitely I consider that. All right, Guruji. Now, that was definitely the last question.
And speaking about all that, we never said in this thing, I'll just say one more time because I think we forgot to say it in all the other things, and just want to remind everybody, about this redefining the ancient tribal ritual for the 21st century. Maybe I should say my famous thing. So we never even said it on the show.
Oh, let's do it. Yes,
my old
please.
philosophy
Yes.
Let's see. Since the beginning of time, mankind has used music and dance to commute with the spirit of nature and the spirit of the universe. We are using trance music and the trance dance experience to set off a chain reaction in consciousness. This is what we call redefining the ancient tribal ritual for the 21st century. I forget the next one. Let me see. Dance. I'll go to the third one. Dance. Dance is active meditation. When we dance, we go beyond mind, beyond thought, beyond mind, and beyond our own individuality to become one in the divine ecstasy of union with the cosmic spirit. This is the essence of the trance dance experience.
Hare Har Mahadev.
Har Har Mahadev. I'll have to remember the other one. I forgot.
Yeah, I wish I could have. You should have said like line, and I can throw you the line.
I put my own self on the spot there. What to say?
Yes, I could have prepared better, Guruji, but that was amazing. Thank you.
I couldn't even. I somehow I felt to do that, but I wasn't prepared, I guess.
Still, I'm.
Anyway, Sadhguru Maharaj ki ichha. Guru Maharaj ki kripa.
All right, Guruji. So as we were saying before, this for now would be our last show. We would try to do other shows, but still we don't know. We will take a break. So yeah, thank you very much for your patience and incredible hard work preparing all of this. And I'm sure in some time we're also gonna be very happy to see what we have done here. And yeah, thank you again for your time. And I'm sure again I speak for many that yeah we look forward very much to see you this weekend.
Chachi, bye everybody. Kushiro, Nandro, Om Namo Narayan, Har
Om
Har
Namo Narayana.
Mahadev.